Welcome back, guys. This is Shane. So today's video is like a rig slash gear rundown of all the stuff that I'm currently using when I play live. I play most weekends. I also gig about once every, I don't know, about 4 to 6 weeks now, so not that often, but I'm always playing live at the jams and having a bit of fun because that's what it's all about. It's more fun playing at a jam night, for example, and keeping your live chops up for me personally than just sitting at home playing with nobody. So I'd much rather go out to the jams, and I take a combination of gear out with me, whether I'm doing a gig or just playing at the jams, whether it's a festival. I like to pick certain things for different types of sounds and different pedals for different kinds of guitars and all that kind of stuff. So today I'm going to give you a little bit of a deep dive into the stuff that I pick and why. I'm not going to cover everything in my collection either. It's not going to be one of those kind of videos. I don't really have a collection. It's just stuff that I use, and there's some stuff here that I only use for the YouTube videos, but this will kind of focus more on the stuff that I actually take out and play live and the stuff that I really enjoy. So let's get into it. Let's start with the amplifier. So I have 4 main amps that I use when I play live, and we have a couple of Fender amplifiers over here. This is the Fender Blues Deluxe Reissue amplifier loaded with a Swamp Thing speaker. I've had 2 of these over the years. This is the second one, and I plan on keeping this indefinitely. It's such a great amp. It's rated at around 40 watts, and it has just a really punchy sound, especially in the mix, and the Swamp Thing speaker just complements it. You know, there was a time where I bought a 2-rock amplifier that was loaded with a creamback. It was a combo, which I never actually put a video up about it, and I A/B'd it against this, and the Blues Deluxe with this Swamp Thing speaker sounded like a way more premium amplifier, which was crazy. So I can highly recommend that speaker for a Hot Rod Deluxe or even a Blues Deluxe, and I love this, and I will use this anytime I want to be loud and anytime I want that specific sound. And if weight isn't a concern, then I'm taking the Blues Deluxe with my pedal board. It's such a really great option. Now, alternatively to that, if I don't need to be as loud and I want to use my pedal board, or even if I don't, I'm taking the Artist Tweetone 20R. And one of the benefits of this amplifier is it's 20 watts. It's a whole lot lighter than the Blues Deluxe, which makes it more pleasing to get around, especially if I have to walk a fair way with the amplifier. Being that I just had the knee surgery thing sorted out. So this is a much lighter alternative, and it's just a really great clean channel that I can use with pedals, or I can just crank up the drive channel and get a really usable sound. If I'm just going to a jam, I'll take this and just plug straight into the dirty channel. Or sometimes I'll also use pedals as well, but at smaller gigs where I can use my pedal board, this is a really great option. It has a master volume on the top as well, so you can essentially just turn it down to any output volume you really want. Then you also get the channel volume. So a super versatile amplifier that I think really sounds great. Probably my favorite amp in my collection right now is the Marshall DSL-40 CR amplifier. And I've put a different speaker in this to the stock Celestion V-type speaker. I ended up with an Eminence Texas Heat, which was the speaker that I had in the PV Bandit. And I landed on that after trying a few different speakers in this amp, just to try to take out some of that really bright top end that this amp had. Now, some people will love that, but I wanted to get a very similar sound without pedals in the Marshall that I could get through my Blues Deluxe with pedals, and I nailed it with the Texas Heat. It took out some of the tops, it made it sound a little bit more Fendery in some ways, but it's still got way more attitude just in terms of its drive channels are fantastic. This amp is great. You can switch it down to 20 watts thanks to the output control over here. But I sort of find with the output control, it always sounds better on the high setting than on the low setting. When I'm doing videos here at the house, I'll sometimes run it on 20 watts, but anytime I'm playing live, I like to run it on 40. It just sounds so much bigger and fuller and fatter sounding at 40 watts than on 20 watts. This is a really great amp. If you own one of these and you're thinking about maybe changing the speaker out, check out guitarspeakerguide.com. And I've got a list of what I think to be the best speakers for this amp out there. I've tested quite a few in there as well. And lastly, over to the Fender Tone Master Twin Reverb amplifier. This thing is so good. I've actually been playing this more than any of my other amps. They've all kind of been benched at the moment, mostly because it's so light and it's so loud and it takes pedals really well. Now, I have noticed though, it doesn't quite take pedals as well as say the Blues Deluxe, but for what it is and what it does, it's more than adequate. And I just think this thing is an absolute beast. The clean tone is something special. It's just a really functional plug-and-play amplifier that's super light. These Tone Master series amps are really worth checking out. I've tried them both, and I think the Twins are better by than the actual deluxe reverb, but it's all subjective stuff. I think you get so much more out of the twin than you would get out of the deluxe reverb. And for those who don't know, Fender actually sent this out for review and they've let me keep it, and it's just become one of the main amps that I play anytime I play live, because you can run it at 85 watts, which is brutally loud, or you can run it at 40, or you can turn it down to 22. So there's heaps of different options when it comes to volume, which kind of means that it's a little bit similar to the Tweed Tone, except it's way lighter. It means I can run it in any room, given that there's enough floor space for it. But they all sound vastly different to each other, which is great as well. But in the end, I can kind of get them all to sound pretty similar if I'm running them on the clean channel with my pedals, or if I'm just using the Marshall without any pedals, I can kind of approximate my tone, and that's what I go for. I have a sound in my head that I try to get all of these amps to sound kind of like, but they've all got their own unique character too, about how they break up or how they don't break up, or just, you know, how they stick out of the mix. And that's what's all about for me, is just getting a great live tone. Up next, we're going to cover some of the guitars that I use live. This won't go through all of them, but it's the sort of, let's go for the top 5 guitars I actually use when I go out and play, because I think that'll be the most relevant. The first one has to be this. This is the Gibson Flying V 2019 model. This is probably my favorite guitar in my collection. It's light. It just feels amazing to play. You get reach all the way up to the end of the fretboard. It doesn't have the tuning stability issues that a lot of Les Pauls can have, and it just feels and looks great. You know, I'm sure when people see me playing this, they're expecting some sort of, like, you know, heavy band to come out and start playing. But it's just a great blues guitar. Works great for all kinds of styles of music, whether I'm playing my original sort of blues rock stuff, whether I'm playing like a cleaner funk style song. This really just works well, and it's just a great blues tone, you know. Albert King back here somewhere on the wall over here, one of my favorite players ever, and one of the greatest blues players of all time. I just realized too, I've still got the plastic cover on this. I should sort of take that off at some point. But yeah, the 2019 Gibson Flying V is an absolute beast. I can highly recommend checking these out if you've ever thought about playing something a little bit different, kind of like a Les Paul, but just a much brighter sound. And the pickups in this are the best humbuckers I've had a chance to ever play. I just think they're, for what I like, they're really, really cool. Here's my PRS SE Custom 24. Now, if you just saw that up close, you might realize I broke a string. I need to actually put a new string on it, which is why you haven't seen it in the videos the last few weeks. I really got to get onto that. But this guitar is arguably up with my Flying V in terms of, you know, heavy rotation when I play live. It's such a great guitar. Much like the Flying V, you know, you get access all the way up. Having 24 frets is awesome. This didn't throw me at all when I first played it. I thought the extra frets might sort of mess with my head, but this is by far the easiest guitar I've got to play in the collection, and that's over all the more expensive ones. It just feels fantastic. It doesn't really tick a lot of boxes for me in terms of its neck shape, and yeah, it's just not really, I always liked to opt for a fatter neck guitar than this, but you know what, after playing it, I don't even think it matters. I forgot that the neck shape isn't really what I liked. I just picked it up and played it, and you might remember those videos from a year or so ago where I just was so blown away by it. I went back the next day and I bought it. I borrowed it from a shop to do the video. Next morning I went back and I purchased it. That's how much I liked it. And the pickups in this, much like the Flying V, are nice and bright. They have a very unique character as well. They're not just another Les Paul style humbucker. They're brighter, they're clearer, they've got a bit more of that sort of hi-fi sound, but they're just that snap on the note is what I really love about the Custom 24 PRS SE. I've seen some comments come in saying, hey, if you like this so much, why don't you get a USA PRS? And in Australia, they're about, I don't know, $6,000 to $10,000 or something like that new. Used, obviously I can get them much, much cheaper, but yeah, it's just one of those things where this ticks all the boxes for me in terms of how it feels to play. I love the sound of it. It's reliable. The tremolo arm works well. And me going out spending, you know, another $6,000 to $10,000 on a guitar isn't going to make me sound any better. I'm going to still sound the same. It's not going to play any better than this. There might be some people who might disagree with that, but this plays so well. It's crazy good. And to be honest, if I was to buy another PRS that was more expensive, I wouldn't be playing this, and that wouldn't be good. I love this guitar, and I don't care if it's an SE or whatever. This is by far up there with the Flying V in terms of my #1 for what I just go for anytime I want a really reliable guitar that sounds great, and with a tremolo arm that just works beautifully, and with the high fret axis. So I really dig this thing. It's a real keeper. So one of the guitars I've started playing a lot more lately live, as well as on the videos, is my Stratocaster. Now this is a Mexican made one from about 3 or 4 years ago, something like that. And this is all stock. I bought this because I love the sound of the pickups, more so than any of the pickups I had in my deluxe Strat. I must have put 5 or 6 sets into that guitar. I then played this and went, yeah, this is the one in terms of sound. I went off playing it for a while because I was either playing my Telecaster or the PRS, but I've come back to playing the Strat again a lot lately, and I'm really enjoying it. I tend to play this a little bit more clean than some of the other guitars in the collection. I wouldn't say like overly clean, but it's something that inspires me to play a little bit differently. Mostly I play a lot more with my fingers with the Strat, especially on the rhythm guitar stuff, whereas the other ones I'll usually opt just to play with a pick. But I really love the in-between sounds like bridge and middle and neck. They just really offer something very different. But if I'm soloing, I'll always choose the neck pickup or the bridge pickup. You know, you can sometimes just get rid of this one, but yeah, for the funky rhythm stuff, my preference is still bridge and middle. I think that's just a great combination. You know, this isn't anything flash, and I've been playing Mexican standard Strats now for years. If you go back all the way to the start of the channel, or not long after that, I actually had another white one that had the maple fretboard, and also had the Texas Longhorn stickers on there. And I really should have kept that guitar. It was a huge mistake getting rid of it, because it was something that I bought while I played overseas, back in Texas, Chicago, and also in San Francisco. And it was just such a great instrument. I should have kept it, but I didn't for whatever reason. So in the end, I ended up getting another one that has that, I guess, Hendrixy sort of vibe, being that it's got the, you know, the rosewood fretboard. So yeah, I think value for money, these are still really hard to beat, whether it's the Player Series ones or the older ones. I think these are just a really great bargain. You can pick these up for next to nothing. Anytime I travel, I either usually get a Squier Classic vibe, or I get one of these, because they're just really reliable instruments that are easy to set up with just a screwdriver, basically. You don't need anything else to get them to play extremely well if they don't already play well off the shelf. So yeah, this Mexican standard Strat, definitely one of my favorite instruments. This will be around for a long time. One thing though I do need to replace is the switch. Switch doesn't grab anymore, but I'll do a video about that coming up at a later date. All right, here it is. This is my 52 reissue Telecaster, loaded with a set of Joe Biden pickups. Joe Biden, damn it. B-A-R-D-E-N, Biden. So yeah, that's what I've got in this particular guitar. These are really low output pickups that just sound fantastic. They got that real single coil vibe. The best noiseless pickups I've played for a Tele. I think they're really, really something special. So they're not cheap, but they definitely work. And if they're good enough for Danny Gatton, they're probably way too good for me. But any of the relicking or whatever you see on this guitar is actual use. I've played this a lot. You'll see that it's sort of scratched up a bit. This has just been played a lot. That's how a guitar will age. It will never get completely sanded or, you know, or worn out just through use, unless you maybe play it for 30 or 40 years. But I've had this for about 10 years, almost 10 years now, and it's a really great instrument. I purchased this in Haight Street Music in San Francisco. Sorry, my focus isn't working properly. There we go. And yeah, it's just been a really great guitar. I remember the first time I played this, it was just everything that I was hoping to find in a guitar, except it was way more expensive than I was hoping. But yeah, such a great instrument. I'm still playing this just as much as I'm playing the Strat. And I've been using it a lot more. You probably saw the live clip that I posted recently on the channel where I was playing the Flying V and this. This is just a great instrument. It's still my only Telecaster from Fender that I own. I have a couple of Harley Bentons, but this is the one that I'd go for anytime. Well, it's the only one I've got, but I would take this over the Strat in most situations if it's a room that I know buzzes really badly. I find that really distracting. Just in terms of feel, this is a much nicer guitar to play than the Strat, just based on the way the neck feels. And I've also had the frets replaced with stainless steel frets as well. This is 6105s, and after I wore out the original frets, I really thought, all right, I want this to last long term. So the stainless steel frets went in, and I've never looked back. So overall, my 52 reissue Telecaster, still one of the best guitars I've had. The only other mod I made to it was this, or one of the few mods anyway, was I changed the actual jack input. These are much, much better. I'll show you one more guitar that I do play live, but not a lot. This is my ES335 from Tokai. The model number is actually a 145L. This is made in Japan. It's a beautiful, beautiful guitar. It's nice and light. It's great to play. I go through phases with 335s where, you know, I might be listening to a lot of Chris Kane or someone that plays a 335 and I get really inspired to want to play it. And then I'm done for a while. You know, I find like after playing the Flying V, especially after playing the PRS SE, the pickups in this just sound very, very different. This has a very different character and tone to it than both of those, as it should, right? It's got its own thing going on, but it's a darker sort of sound, which doesn't really appeal to my ear a lot. I still love the bridge pickup on this guitar. I think it really sings, and it's a beautiful guitar overall as well. I mean, this is better than my old Gibson that I paid way more for back in the day, and it's just a really nice guitar. Big fat neck, it ticks a lot of boxes in terms of how it feels, but I go through phases like with these guitars where I'm not always wanting the 335 sound, but there's certain songs that I've written that I recorded with this and I couldn't hear those any other way. There's something about the 335 that really just works for a particular sort of set list, or if I'm just doing dirty blues, they're a great guitar. But you know, for some of that sort of clean rhythm percussive stuff, I don't really want to play 335. I'd rather play the Strat or the PRS. I think that's just a much sort of nicer sound to my ear than this. But overall, it's a really beautiful guitar. This won't be going anywhere. It's just the guitar I don't play enough. And this is probably going to wrap it up. I still have the Les Paul from Tokai as well, but I'm not really using that right now, so I didn't want to include it in the list. I also have the Little Crow guitars as well, but they're back at Little Crow's getting some modifications as well, so they're not going to be making the list either today. But I still do have pretty much most of the stuff that you've seen on the channel over the last 12 months here at the house. But this is the stuff that I would use, or these are the guitars that I would use anytime I go out and play live. Up next, we're going to take a look at the pedals that I'm using. This is my pedal board as of right now, starting with the Boss TU2 tuner, which I've had for just about ever. The VS Audio Vibler, which is an absolute beast of a Leslie-ish kind of pedal. It just does that phase slash vibratone thing extremely well. And I'm not using tremolo at all anymore. I'm just using this because I really love sort of its flavor when you're playing with another guitar player. It really adds a different dimension to the sound that I really like. Up next, we have the Nursey Booster from Sitek, which is now a Polish-made pedal. It used to be made in Ireland, and it's such a great clean boost, nice and simple, one control. What more do you need? We have the Royal Flush dual overdrive pedal from VS Audio as well. So the same company as this. This thing's been like my go-to overdrive for just about ever. I actually have 3 overdrives that I like to use, and I have 2 clean boosts that I like to use depending on the guitar that I'm playing. So overall, this will pretty much cover everything in terms of my gain structure, the VS Audio Royal Flush and the Nursey Sitek Booster. But there's sometimes where I'll want to change one of these out, and I'll show you those in a sec. And on the end here, we have the Prisoner analog tape delay from Jacques, which is a French company. He makes phenomenal pedals. I actually have some more of them on the way to the channel. This is just a really great delay. It's noise free. It doesn't drop your volume or do anything weird. So it's a sort of a mainstay on my actual pedal board as of right now. Another one of the clean boosts I really love to use is the Mr. Boost from Greenchild. This pretty much does exactly the same thing as the Nursey down there, except it's got a really cool like robot dude on the front. So this is made in the United States. Mason makes some really great stuff. Out of all the clean boosts I've owned over the years, these are both 2 of my favorites. The Nursey just works, and this just works as well. I can highly recommend both. Good value pedals too for their price. Another delay pedal you'll see me use a lot as well is the Serena from Sitek. This usually sits on top of my Marshall DSL. If you see me using the effects loop of the amplifier without any other pedals, this is the delay pedal that I choose to use. Now going into the front end, there's a little bit of a volume drop with this thing, but going into the effects loop, it's not quite as noticeable. I've actually reached out to them and explained the issue with the volume drop, which they're working on as well. But overall, this is just a beautiful sounding digital delay pedal that sounds almost analog in some ways. It's got a really dark vibe about it. I love the way this thing sounds, and even irrespective of that small volume drop, it still sounds really, really beautiful. So I have 3 other overdrive pedals that I'll mix up instead of the Royal Flush depending on what amp I'm playing. The Royal Flush will work well into all of them, but this, the Carrera Buffalo Effects pedal, this works better into amps like the Artist and also into the Fender Twin Reverb amplifier. I think this just sort of fattens them out a little bit more. And having the 2-band EQ at the top makes this basically like a tube screamer on steroids, except you get more top end. It's like a full range overdrive pedal that just is really, really musical for the kind of music that I play. I can highly recommend this. I think it sounds really great. If I'm doing a full gig with a Strat, I'll opt to take this. This is the Stardust pedal from Crazy Tube Circuits. This works great into my Fender amplifiers especially, and this is what I'll take if I'm playing a Strat and I want to just get like a basic off clean tone that sounds great, very reminiscent of the 65 Deluxe Reverb cranked but with more top end. I'll take this, and I'll also use it with the Carrera Buffalo Effects pedal. It's a really great sort of combination to get, you know, your Strat absolutely singing without it sounding overly compressed. So this Stardust is just one of the best sort of off clean pedals out there, hands down. And lastly, we have the TOD9 from Maxon, the True Tube Overdrive. Now, I actually still haven't done a full review of this on the channel yet. You've probably seen it pop up a few times, but I really like this. If I want a pedal with a bit more attitude than a conventional tube screamer, this is great. You can make it sound like a regular tube screamer, but you can also bring in the tube drive circuit over here, which brings in way more gain and attitude. So you can really get some different things out of this pedal. It's built like $1,000,000. I love Maxon pedals. The Overdrive Pro, the OD820, still one of my favorites, and I have that in the cupboard as well. So I could have easily replaced that with this or vice versa. But this one is the one that you've seen, well, you might not have seen personally, but if you've come to the gigs, you've definitely seen this on the pedal board or on the floor as just even an only overdrive. I really dig it. Just having one overdrive on the floor, this will definitely do the job. My wah pedal of choice is still the GCB 95F Jim Dunlop Crybaby. This thing has been fantastic. It's the one loaded with the phasal chip, and to my ear, it just sounds a lot less harsh on the top end. Just sounds really, really vocal and musical, and I've just been using this forever. You know, I've tried so many wah pedals over the years, and I've found none to be better than this particular model, the GCB 95F. Yeah, it's really cool. If you want to find out about this, links will be below. Powering all my pedals for live gigs is the Visual Sound One Spot / True Tone. Yeah, they changed their name a little while back, but that's all I use. This is 1700 milliamps. I'm pretty sure, yeah, it is. So it's more than enough to power all of the pedals at once or any combination of them at any particular time. So I don't use anything flash. I find that this thing just works. And this is my second one of these in over 10 years. So they last a really long time. I only just replaced this in 2019. So my last one has lasted a long, long time. So I have 2 vocal microphones that I prefer over everything else, and this one is a dynamic microphone from a company called JTS. This is the NX8. Now these are kind of hard to find. These are somewhere in between like a Beta 58 and an SM58 in terms of their sound quality, except these feel just like $1,000,000 in the hand, and they don't cost that much either. I just really love the sound quality of JTS microphones. I have a few of them. I also have the NX 8.8, which is the live condenser microphone, but I much prefer the way that this one sounds. It has a great proximity effect. You get really close to the microphone and it will just sound huge, and I really love that. My other microphone of choice is the Rode M2 microphone. This is a condenser microphone that I use anytime I'm recording a live session. These just make the vocals sound a whole lot more studio without getting any real issues with feedback, which is one of the advantages of this over many of the other live condenser microphones that I've tried. This just does it better, and it sounds great as well. This isn't the brightest condenser mic out there, and I really like that as well. It's got a nice warm sound to it and a full sound to it. Even if you get up on the grill, the proximity effect isn't too over the top and boomy and unusable like it can be with others. Sometimes, much like the other live condenser mic, the NX 8.8, they roll out a little bit too much low end. This, they got it right. So Rode microphones really nail it, not because they're an Australian company, but because they're a great company. I use a lot of these on the channel and also when I play and record live. So there you have it, folks. That's my gear rundown for 2019. I hope you like this video. This is by no means all of the stuff in my collection, but it's the stuff that I use most anytime I play live. If you have any questions about the pedals, guitars, or amplifiers, or anything like that, please let me know. In terms of cables, I use whatever I've got. You know, I've got one of those rattlesnake cables, but the end's a bit dodgy now, so I'm actually just using some cheap ones I bought about 8 years ago from Guitar Center, and they're working really, really well. So with that in mind, yeah, cables I don't really care too much for, but patch cables I do, and I'm just using some of the Covenant cables as the patch cables. Any of the Pancake ones work really well, so if you're wondering about the cables, that's all I use. I'm not that fussy about cables. I find even the less expensive ones work really well until the end of time. So yeah, there you have it. If you do have any questions, leave them below. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up. If you missed our live clip, go check it out and you'll see some of the stuff that I've spoken about in action. You can hear how it sounds live. Thanks again. Catch you soon. See ya.